Okay, so in our modern world, there's a real sense amongst many people that it's just impossible to discover the truth, depending on what kind of truth you're looking for, whether it's sort of a moral truth, truth about the nature of the universe, religious truth, historical truth, trying to discover what happened in the past. And we've talked about a lot of those things in TOK class. And because, there's this sense that you cannot discover the objective truth in lots of schools of thought in our modern world. That's a reason why the novella Chronicle of the Death Foretold by Gabriel Garcia Marquez really resonates perhaps with many modern audiences who do feel that it's extremely difficult to nail down what happened in the past. The book, in a way, suggests that memory is completely unreliable and is not to be trusted. And from that, we can widen the argument and say that certainty seems unattainable. This novella is told in the first person. There is a first-person narrator. He is writing some sort of investigative report based on the murder of Santiago Nassar approximately 20 years earlier than the narrator is writing now. But he was present. He was present at the time of the murder and in the events surrounding the murder. And by using this first-person narrator, or the first-person narration, what this novella does is adds to the sense that memory is not to be trusted and that certainty might not be attained. On page 43 of Chronicle of the Death Foretold, in this version here, page 43, the narrator is recalling the events of the wedding, and he says this: I had a very confused memory of the festival before I decided to rescue it, piece by piece, from the memory of others. I'll repeat that. I had a very confused memory of the festival before I decided to rescue it, piece by piece, from the memory of others. Wow, that's a great quote. Right there. See? Why is this such a great quote? Well, the narrator himself says, I don't really recall that wedding, and through synecdoche, maybe the whole event. And so I had to sort of go back to it and save it, and rebuild it from the memory of others. Of course, as the narrator goes about his work and investigating and trying to rescue his memory, he finds that he cannot do it because the others that he's talking about, their memories are all different. So he cannot save, he cannot rescue, he cannot go back and redeem his recollection of the events around Santiago Nassar's death. And this tells us as a modern audience that we cannot go back and get a clear picture of anything that happened. In fact, certainty is completely unobtainable. In fact, reading the book this afternoon, I've noticed that the narrator actually adds to the uncertainty himself when he goes back. By being there, he confuses. In particular, what I mean is when he visits Santiago Nassar's mom, she for a moment thinks that he is Santiago Nassar, that her memory is so clouded she gets confused when she sees the narrator. No sooner had I appeared on the threshold than she confused me with the memory of Santiago Nassar. So ironically, even the narrator going back to try and bring clarity or discover clarity brings more confusion. As you go back, you don't clarify things, you confuse things. Whoa, that's good. Another moment from the text I noticed that's really good in this discussion about first-person narration and how it adds to the sense that memory is fallible and certainty is unobtainable is on page 99. What's happening here is that we discover that there was an investigation done by an official about 12 days, I think, after the murder of Santiago Nassar. And an investigator came in and wrote up a report, and that was stored away in a building. They didn't have computers or USBs or uploading files, any of that stuff. So it was a paper copy which was stored away in an office. But that office is in an area where there's a lot of flooding and water comes in. And so water sweeps in through the filing room and mixes up all the files and reports. And what happened is the narrator went and for 5 years scratched around in the office with bits of paper floating around and tried to piece together the report the investigator originally made. And I think this is great imagery that reminds us that trying to put something together after the event is impossible. Here's the quote. "I searched many times with the water up to my ankles in that lagoon of lost causes, and after 5 years rummaging around, only chance let me rescue some 322 pages filched from the more than 500 that the brief must have contained." That's on page 99. It's a great quote. Go and check it out. Because it's a wonderful image, and that phrase, that expression, that lagoon of lost causes. If something is a lost cause, it just means there's no point trying to do it. You're never going to achieve what you're trying to do. So in a way, this image here represents the whole idea that we're talking about in relation to first-person narration and a lack of certainty. The impossibility of trusting memory to gain truth. This image of the narrator for 5 years scrabbling around in the water, trying to piece together this investigative report and ascertain what happened. It's just not going to work. And that's maybe why this novella resonates with modern readers in these life and times we live in, where there's a great lack of certainty. Certainty is always being challenged.